Greetings, I am Erin Patton, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am Erin Patton, and welcome to today's episode of the Meta Business Millennial podcast. I am so honored, as always, that you've joined the podcast journey with us and you're watching and you're tuning in. And if you haven't already, I invite you to follow me at I am Erin Patton across social media. And of course, if this message resonates with you, definitely share it with a friend. Leave us a comment. We want to hear from you. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to today's guest, because y'all know I be doing this show by myself a lot. And it's so amazing. And I'm so honored to have Miss Charity Brown joining us today. And Charity is the founder of the Happy CEO Method. And not only is she the founder of this beautiful, approach to living a happier, healthier life as a CEO, she's also an author. She's also a podcaster herself. And without further ado, I want to welcome Miss Charity Brown.
Thank you, Erin. I so appreciate you. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. I hope we have some gems of knowledge and for you today.
Not only gems of knowledge, but a fun conversation, an enlightening conversation, and one that, of course, can elevate your whole being. You know, this is not just about making money, because, you know, we can do that and we can do it well, but we want to do it with ease. And so I really want to get into why you even created this Happy CEO Method, because I know I had shared with you before, like on this podcast, there's always like a story, a traumatic ass story sometimes, or a drama filled story, or an unexpected set of events that really bring us to our catalytic, aha moment. And I really want to hear that journey from you. Honestly, I want all the juicy details.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a long show. Yeah, I had to go through it to get to it,
That part.
Yeah, the valley lows and the mountain highs are, really what created the Happy CEO. And having clients and working with a lot of business owners as well, I've seen a lot of people fail and a lot of big wins. And I've seen people do business, from a heart-centered, cohesive place, and I've seen it come from complete chaos and overwhelm. And It's quite a bit different, to be in the shoes of an entrepreneur, having the pressures and, all the waves of entrepreneurship, and being able to also enjoy your life and, scale to the summit of your success. So the key is, and the Happy CEO framework is the foundation built on the 4 P's: power, planning, positioning, and profits. And
so power, planning, positioning, and profits. Okay, y'all.
Yeah, and the first P, of course, is the very most important, and it's the one that takes the most work, and it's the one that you will continually visiting. And so it's really important. Power, 1, dialing in to yourself, what your vision is of success, who you are, who you serve, what problem you solve. And then also looking at what are the things that bring me joy and happiness in life? How do I see myself as a successful entrepreneur? And, what does that vision look like? Hence my amazing vision board.
That's an amazing vision board.
Yeah. So, really, once you dial into those key areas in life, and mentally you can think about it like, oh, I want to make multiple 6 figures. I want to have a life of abundance and freedom. I want to be able to travel. I want to help people shift into their best self. I want to, be this or that. Be sure in the power area that you have your true identity of who you are in your happy CEO state. So powers first, and we have tools that do that help people dial into, like, their personalities, like 16personalities.com. I always have my clients go check that out to really dial into themselves, how they work
And
well.
what's your personality?
I am a protagonist.
Okay. And what does that mean?
That means I usually break the mold, and I'm also Aquarius, so I'm just kind of an innovator, and I always try to, try different approaches, but I'm a very thoughtful leader. I'm an empath. I'm, more for the whole, the sum of the whole is greater than the parts, like we're all in this together, and really taking like maybe a diplomatic or, a role that is probably not followed much by others because it's been complicated. So that's why I really took my entrepreneurship and created the 4 Ps, because over 25 years I've been an entrepreneur. From the minute I dropped out of high school,
Wow.
I went to beauty school, and I started my first salon when I was 19. I didn't know anything about business. I was labeled a failure. I took the alternative route. I was not challenged in high school. I was very mature. I was already living on my own. I needed to do me, but it wasn't what everybody else wanted me to be doing. And
Right.
so I took a risk of being, cast out and criticized and judged, and did what I wanted. And, it felt good in the moment. And I look back, it's been about almost 30 years, since I started my first business. So I went into, kind of that place where, failure fueled me, because I was faced with it a lot as being a young mom, taking an alternative route for career, starting my own business at a young age and not having any business knowledge at all. And, facing a lot of stumbling blocks, and a lot of challenges, and making it through. So my first career was a big flop. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have went to business school and got my triple degree in business accounting and new media. I would have never had the tools to be able to pay for my education, or, to really even invest in myself to get the knowledge that I needed. And so once I chose me, I guess you could say, because there was a part of me that was always a people pleaser, that always was a parent pleaser, was an everybody else pleaser. I was doing what everyone else wanted me to do. And I was stuck, and I was mad at myself, and, I had an inner war, because I continued trying to please people that weren't supporting me, that really didn't care what I wanted to do or what felt good to me. And so I was stuck. And that's what the Happy CEO is really about, is really claiming your power, stepping in to who you are, your identity, really seeing yourself as a success, and then implementing it into the rest of the P's, which is planning, positioning, and profits. So once you have that vision of your great self, once you have that vision of your success, and you can see, I could be triumphant, standing on the mountaintop, saying, I won. What are you doing? Where are you at? How much are you making? Who's with you? Really getting dialed into those finite details, and then implementing it and taking action. So I've always been doing these kinds of boards even before I got coaching, but I started looking for coaches when I graduated from beauty school, and I'd have a mentor who had a salon who would give me advice and stuff like that, and go to like Tony Robbins conventions and really try to dive into my best self. Yeah. When I was 19, I did the Firewalker convention, and I was so lost. Like at that point in life, I needed it so bad, because my self-esteem was low. My confidence was low. I was just kind of floundering around in my little business. I was barely supporting myself. I didn't know how to get clients. I was feeling really insecure about reaching out to people in the community, because I was from a small town, and none of them really supported me, dropping out and going to beauty school, at least my close family and that still live there. So I was kind of in it alone. And that's the thing, like, you don't have to do it alone.
That part.
Yeah. And the best thing is to find a coach or a mentor that can help guide you through, the pitfalls and over the stumbling blocks, and, make an accelerated course to success for you. And I feel it's like kind of my duty as a senior entrepreneur and a woman to be able to reach out to my girls and say, look, I'm here to help. I've been doing business for 25 years. I have a triple degree. I've worked with thousands of businesses, corporations, and all kinds of international trades and things like that I want to bring back to my roots, to my girls, to the ones that maybe don't have $100,000 to invest in education or in business failures just for experience. They really need a guiding light and a hand to hold and somebody to say, look, this is the easier, faster way to do it. I've owned restaurants, I've owned e-commerce businesses, real estate. I've been in corporate America as a fractional CFO. I've owned QBooks Financial, which is my accounting, bookkeeping service that I started in 1999, where I really got a lot of my skills because I had such a variety of clients that I learned so much about business and so many different aspects that it really is, you can't even pay for that kind of education that I had.
Right.
Because it was, cutthroat and hard knock, because I did get into the restaurant business and I did own restaurants and lottery facilities and bars in Oregon. I always had my consulting business on the side to help business owners, get their financials in line so they could, get some funding, get investors and partners. And that's what Kevin and Harrington endorsed me for. I don't know if you saw on my podcast. He's been on my podcast. He's one of the first sharks from Shark Tank, and he's the inventor of the infomercial, and he's booked billions of dollars in business, and he endorses my business GPS, which is the second P. So it's power, then it's planning, and it comes with the investor pitch and the business GPS, which really gets the business owner dialed in for success. What is the strategy? Who do you help? What problem do you solve? What sales channels are you going to use? Really getting into the keys to success within business. And it's kind of like a coordinate map of your business success. And so if you have that and you get a little bit off track, you can always come back to home base and remind yourself, oh, this was the strategy. This is where I need to tweak it and things like that. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but without planning, I think I would have made a lot more mistakes.
First of all, thank you so much for sharing your story, because I really resonate with you saying that I took the alternative route. Because even though, not everyone, did the skip the college or go back to school kind of method, a lot of people still feel like the black sheep kind of. A lot of people feel like they're taking a different route, especially when they're going entrepreneurship. And this is who most of my audience is. And one thing that you lifted up that I think that can sometimes fall mute on people is seeking help. Having that mentorship, having that community to support you. And obviously this is what I do. Like, I have a women's mastermind, I have my accelerator program, I have my mentorship program. And, there's so many coaches out there these days. I think there's also a little bit of resistance in seeking help. And not because they don't want it, but also there's trust issues. Let me just name it for what it is. Because I've literally had women, asking questions about my mastermind, like, how do I know this is a safe space? I've been backstabbed by women before. And it's especially women on women. Let's focus on our own community versus we all know about the man. We all talk about the white man, especially. But what about women with women? And how we've gone through, traumatic situations with each other, and how I'm sure being in the beauty business, you've had some experiences like that, but how have you overcome some of those trust challenges to grow and respect and honor and be there for other women? So I really would love to hear that story from you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. It wasn't just the beauty business. I was in corporate.
I'm sure, yeah.
I mean, it's everywhere, honestly. Yeah. We've all have trust issues. I mean, getting ripped off, people selling you the farm and not delivering anything,
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
And, it comes from a place of, like I said, they haven't really dialed into their soul contract or their soul purpose. So they're just spinning themselves. So they got to deal with that anyway.
That part.
on their own time. But my experience in corporate was kind of catty and BS a lot of backstabbing, a lot of, sabotage. And because I
Yeah.
was like an outsider coming into like different offices. So it was even more highly uncomfortable for me because I was always the bad guy. I was always the outsider. I was always the black sheep. I've always just had to have that laser focus, and just like
Yes.
drill in. But sometimes you can't, and it takes the team. There's just no way anyone can do it all. And
Right.
so creating better relationships with others starts with us, the inner fitness. And the first P is really about confidence, clarity, and creating a better relationship with ourselves so
Yes.
we can have a better relationship with others. And no matter how, catty and BS people can get, competitive or just, people do the darndest things. But if you're in alignment and you're in alignment with the right tribe and you're doing the work yourself, you'll be able to get through any of that and none of that will matter.
Yes. Yes. And I obviously this is like my speaking my language, like dialing into yourself, aligning with your own energy, knowing who you are so that when you are sidetracked or sideswiped by someone, you know how to come back to your center and know not to repeat the same behavior at least. And one thing you did bring up is that soul contract piece because a lot of it sounds like your work is purpose driven. My work is definitely about purpose. And I'm always talking about building soul aligned businesses, building businesses that align with your reason for existing on this planet and this day and time. You know what I mean? That's the soul contract essentially. And I really would love for you to dive a little bit deeper around what you feel like your soul contract is and, how you are fulfilling that through your work.
Oh, yeah. And it's taken me, a long time, girl. No, but I don't know. Like, I definitely recommend people getting their human design because it will it won't just be what I think, it'll be really what my design is.
Yes.
And it is to help people step into their power, to use their voice, to communicate clearly, and to help people shift and transform. I mean, it literally says that exactly what I'm doing right now is what I need to be doing.
Yes.
It's not putting together profit and loss statements and, executive board reports. It's really helping the soul-centered entrepreneurs, the heart-centered ones, the ones that are having a mission-based, experience on life instead of just monetizing and capitalizing because we can all just sell something online. It doesn't fulfill me. Like I've helped, book billions of dollars. I'm not kidding. Corporate finance. I've booked billions of dollars for other clients, and it really actually made me, the most unfulfilled I could ever be.
Wow.
Sitting in my desk and drone and delivering financial statements. That doesn't light me up or turn me on.
Right.
But what does is seeing somebody who felt defeated like me, who felt resentment and undervalued and underheard and underserved and feeling like I didn't matter. I'm not worthy. I've had that feeling probably 25 years of my life. And then the last 20 years, I've been working on myself so I can feel like I do today,
Yes.
which is I feel worthy. I feel like I can step into my power. I feel like I can transform others. I feel like I finally am ready.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. And it sounds like to me too, like you've spent so much not only getting help and mentorship with other people, but on that self-development journey. And I know that so much of the entrepreneurial journey for me at least, and what I try to impart on my listeners and followers is you have to do that self-development work. You have to be able to come back to yourself and see like, where can I improve? Where can I grow? Where have I fallen short? And being accountable for that, like we all are going to make mistakes. Like you said, you had your set of failures, you had your set of missteps. I'm still living with mine, to this day in so many ways. And so, but at the end of the day, I had to acknowledge, okay, that's where I misstepped, but how do I move forward in a way that continues to honor who I am, my values, and where I want to go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing, compromising ourselves is one of the number one things. We'll know what we want and what we need to do, but then we compromise because it's easier not to change and
That
to stay
part.
comfy and cozy in our own funk. And like, that's a lot of effort. It's like going to the gym, you know, it's like when you're 100 pounds overweight and the burden's so heavy to get up and get there, you know, and you're so tired and exhausted. But once you get there, you feel so great when you're done working out and you want to keep going back. But then every day it's still kind of a struggle to get up and get there. And that's like the inner fitness, you know, the
I love that you said that, inner fitness. Yes,
yeah,
100%.
it's literally like going to the gym every day inside and flexing that muscle that I am worthy, I am loved, I am enough. Whatever it is, the affirmations or the ritual or routines, because that's what we do in step one is we really set up the power hour, putting yourself first, stepping into your power, feeling how, instead of thinking about what you got to do for everybody else, what everybody else thinks you need to be doing. No, you need to do what is best for you right when you wake up. So I had to like put away the screens and I had to actually calendar my power hour. So I schedule myself first. I'm going to get up today. I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to do my breath work. I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to script. I'm going to journal. And I'm going to remember why I'm here today and what I can do, one, to help and serve others, two, what I can do to better myself and, you know, find joy and happiness in this day.
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that is a really easy, I would say, action item to take away from, like we talked about the gyms and things you could take away from this podcast. And I call it the EMR, the early morning ritual, where you wake up and you do exactly what Charity is speaking to, whether it's prayer, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation, movement, walking, even if it's just like a little stretch, you know what I'm saying? Like we're not, you know, trying to go over and beyond here or overextend ourselves. The whole idea is to take some time where it's just you with you, worried about you and you. you. Yeah. And because especially as women and with women entrepreneurs, a lot of us are mothers. A lot of you mentioned being a young mother, mothers, caregivers, we're wives, we're partners. And it's so easy for us to wake up and want to be worried about nurturing and taking care of somebody else.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so easy. Yeah. And we've been taught that. And also it distracts us from all the shit we have to think about for our own selves. So it's also like a coping mechanism, if you will. It's just as bad as a drug, in my view, because you're not listening to your own thoughts. You're not paying attention to how you feel. So that early morning ritual is an opportunity for you to come back to you and really wrestle with and sit with all the emotions and all the things you have going on. Like I'm very transparent about my life and all the things I have going on in my life. And it's just like, I have to do this, even as a shaman or a Tai Chi master, whatever titles that I can call myself in my spiritual walk. I still have to do this work every single day because God, my soul journey with God is like the co-creation is very vast and it requires a lot of work. And so I'm constantly clearing, constantly processing stuff sometimes on a collective level. It may not even be my own shit, you know, at this stage. And especially for someone like Charity and I, like at this level as women entrepreneurs, we're working with millions of dollars and thousands of people. That's a lot of energy to work with. And I don't know if a lot of times if people are even considering, you know, the burdens that they're carrying within their own being and the work that they're doing and why this early morning ritual is so important.
Yeah, it seems real simple, you know, it's kind of cliche, like, oh, just put yourself first in the morning. But that's really the magic sauce when you're finally like, I am worthy of being first in my own life.
Yes.
And, you know, there's a lot of times where we really, you know, kind of rip ourselves a new one.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing that. And then we're mean to ourselves and we're our worst critic and we're feeling depleted and we're unfulfilled and no one's helping us. And then all the resentment sets in and then we're just stuck in this, that's the stuck. That's it. And then it takes one beautiful step and one amazing choice that we all have. You know, that's our superpower. We have the choice to put ourselves first. And it used to be looked down upon, like, I guess people would say that's like self-serving. That's not what it is. That's selfish. No, that's not what it is. Yeah. You're supposed to put God first and then yourself. But what if you don't have a good relationship with yourself? I think everyone needs to have a better relationship with themselves, then they get closer to God.
That part.
Because, you know, and I think that, yes, you putting yourself first is putting God first because you are the temple. And I think it's really important that the shift and understanding, a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves when they're with themselves because
Yes.
they've been so disconnected for so long. They're kind of like, you know, spirit was joyriding their body. They weren't even really in it. They weren't even, or like a pawn in life. Like they were just feeling like they were moved, you know, without, you know, really wanting to do that. And I felt that way a long time. You know, I felt that way a long time. And I had to come back to myself, and it takes a lot of work, you know, really feeling yourself, stepping back into your body, really becoming self-aware, really dialing into what makes you happy, joyful, free, you know, finding a way to monetize that, and living a life of freedom and abundance. I think that's really key.
Yes. Well, we could go on and on talking about this, and I really just want to take some time to kind of like build on that because obviously your method is more or less built on this abundance piece. And you talked about being an author and writing this book. So in many ways, I would love for you to kind of just go in more detail about this method and maybe like how you like maybe some success cases or like how you've seen it kind of work really well and maybe talking about the book as it relates to it. I just want to hear more about how you've transitioned and translated this method into success outcomes for people and yourself.
Yeah. Well, so Create Clarity with Charity, the book, it's on Amazon. And then that's also the name of my podcast where I have evolutionary heart-centered entrepreneurs come share their story. So the real key is the 9 steps to inner freedom, the Zen zone mindset.
I love that.
And yeah, oh man, it's changed my life. And I'm a certified coach. Alan Knight, the founder of the 9 steps to inner freedom, he certified me, and he's a former Zen monk, and he is and had been my coach for the last 8 years. And so we have really dialed into the key fundamentals of the tools that you don't get in society, that you don't get in school, you don't get from your parents. They're the tools in emotionality and confidence and clarity that we all really need to be able to get through this lifetime.
Yes.
And it's literally like an inner gym workout. And you can implement the 9 steps. I've done it over 100 dozen times, like, because I use it 2, 3, 4 times a year on myself. I usually do it quarterly or when needed. Because there's times in life where, you know, the pressures, you know, all the adversity and stress and, you know, life just throws you whatever sometimes. And you're like, you know, how do I handle these missiles thrown at me, and how do I pick myself back up and get back on track without carrying all the heavy burden and continually, you know, spiraling into doom and gloom. So it's a very strategic framework that is so effective. I mean, it gave me the power, one, to jump my corporate life that I had about 8 years ago. You know, stuck in corporate. I was completely burnt out. I was defeated, depleted, and isolated. I felt, you know, undervalued, not heard. I completely felt like I lost myself. And I was in burnout, and I was in complete self-destruction. I was 100 pounds overweight. I had to have 2 major back surgeries because I think I self-imploded. Wow. Yeah, like I hated my job and my life so much, and I would just repress it, and I would just stuff it and stuff it and stuff it. But inside, the turmoil and the war was just so deep that I literally exploded, and I think I herniated my discs. And I had to have 2 back surgeries, a hemilaminectomy and a discectomy. And I never had surgery. I haven't had health issues, but I had high blood pressure. I had high cholesterol. I was on the verge of a heart attack. I was 100 pounds overweight. I hated myself. I hated my life. And I literally was at the end for me. I was like, I did all this work. I got all these degrees. I owned all these businesses. I have all this great experience. And now I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I have $250 in my account. I'm totally defeated. I had the worst ex that I had to also get rid of that was, destroying me. I lost like 3 of my family members. They passed away all within 2 years. I was depressed. I mean, everything, just like everything that could have possibly happened. And I was like, how am I going to start over from this? And it literally was, I can remember getting out of bed that day, healing from my back surgery that had staples in my back, all of my spine. And I was just, like, I decided that day, and I can remember so vividly, I can even remember like the color of the carpet I was stepping on, that I had this moment where I was fed up. I'm not doing it anymore. And that I'm going to take my life back and I'm going to reclaim who I am. And so I hired a coach. I hired a consultant. I started the business accelerator with Sam Ovens, who started consulting.com, who started school. I don't know, the school community. He started that too. But he also had this level of coherence and heart-brain connection within his program, because I knew I was already an entrepreneur. I knew what I was missing. That's why I was living paycheck to paycheck, because I didn't have the income anymore, because I moved and I got rid of all my clients. So I'm like, I'm just going to start over. I know I can make 5 times the amount of my corporate salary if I just got my own clients. But there was the self-belief. See, I had to rekindle that in myself, because I had lost myself to the pain, to the devastation and the loss and the depression. So, that's what the book is about. It is about my journey as a mom, checking out of the box, having some failures in my own business, but having some really great wins, but also coming back from complete despair and burnout and reclaiming myself, reinventing myself back to who I knew I really was inside. I lost 100 pounds. I started Now Answer Group. I was making 5 times more than I was making in my corporate job take home the first month. And then I got to fire my corporate job and step into my consulting career again. And then and Alan really helped me with my emotionality, because I was really hard on myself.
Yeah.
I've really, really done a number on myself. I really was insecure. I really was suffering a lot, mentally, overthinking, analysis paralysis, all this stuff, just staying stuck in the old mindset and redefining, who I am, what I stand for, like you're saying, your passions, your values, really knowing who you are. Once you do that and you get back real with yourself, it's a lot easier, even if you don't like some parts of yourself. And that's why I know people run away from self-help. They run fast because they don't want to dial into the pain. They do not want to talk about the trauma. They do not want to remember, why has the last 10 years been so hard for me?
Right.
So I understand that, because I was that person. I did not want help. When I owned my restaurants, when I owned my other businesses, I did not want to seem weak. I did not want anyone to know I was suffering inside.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we got to overcome as women. And in that book, Create Clarity with Charity, I've written about, from my perspective, being on the front lines. Like, I was a one-woman army for a long time. And it really, I suffered a lot from it. And now the Happy CEO helps relieve the suffering that I had, and I wish I had this 20 years ago.
I just had to clap for you, sis. What a beautiful story. And one thing that I want to lift up, and we'll talk more, but I want to lift up the part that you were speaking about, the punishment, because that actually is the number one issue with humans in human society today, is that we feel like in order to be successful, we have to punish ourselves. And it actually, I must say that it might have worked. Like, we were growing up, at least in my household, we got spankings, we got slapped in the face, we got grounded, we got things taken away from us. Like, punishment was used to make us be better.
Right.
And so we grew up like, and I'm sure in many ways your household is something similar, but it was like we grew up believing and programmed to act in a way where punishment served our good. Like,
Right.
what a sad way of existing, but this was the reality for us. And
Right.
so this is a reality for most people, and why we live in such a punishing environment. Like right now, I'm going through a very sad situation, custody situation with my son. His dad thinks that he's punishing me to is a good outcome for his son's life, and so this punishment pursuit is a destructive one. Let's just leave it at that and say it for what it is, and how were living your life. This very incredibly tragic, traumatic, tragic. I have a very similar traumatic, tragic situation to, coming out of toxic relationships, taking care of my mom, losing my dad, losing my friends, all kinds of things. And understanding that through it all, like if I didn't have those affirmations, if I didn't have, the coach, I immediately also got a coach and a Reiki healer and an acupuncturist and a massage therapist. Like I got all like a whole team of healing for me, but it was absolutely necessary to come out of this punishing like existence.
Yeah. Oh, the suffering was real too. Like
Hmm.
it literally was. It was so real. And that's the thing, they teach us that. They want us to play small. They want us to stay in the box. They want us to be critical, especially women, be silent, be seen and not heard.
Right.
Don't express your emotions.
Right.
Don't show your weakness.
Yes.
Don't talk about your problem. That, take it, like I can't do it anymore. I
That
couldn't
part.
do it, 15 years ago when I finally made the switch to say, hey, I'm going to choose me. I'm going to step in to and do what I feel that I need to do. And I moved out of the small town I was stuck in for 30 some years and had 4 generations there. And that was not okay for
That
me to
part.
leave. But it was the best thing I ever did for myself.
Yeah.
But I hope to kindle that courage because the fear, the self-defeat, the negative ego, all the pressures of being unsupported, because of course no one was supporting it. So how does that feel on the inside? It feels really bad. And that's when I learned to be my best friend. When I realized all the stuff that was good for me that I was doing, that no one was supporting, that I needed to just rely on myself and stop looking for external validation
That
and
part.
just do me, because I wasn't happy then. And even though that I may have less now or then, it was worth the peace. It was worth the self-love that, hey, I love myself enough to make a change for the better for me. I don't care if they like it or if they think that's the right move for me. I've learned to trust my intuition and dial in, because taking that time to really get centered, to really find out who you are, and to be your best friend is the biggest and best gift you can give yourself.
The biggest and best gift. And in addition to being your best friend, acknowledging over and over, I love myself. I always say that. I love myself. I am me. I love myself. I like myself. I trust myself. I believe in myself. I still say these affirmations on a daily basis to this day. And I've been doing it now at least for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I really want to encourage all of our listeners, our women entrepreneurs out there, to continue to pour into yourself. If you take nothing away from this message today, continue to pour into yourself. Continue to find reasons to love on yourself and understand that your circumstances, the challenges are temporary, okay? And so I want us to start wrapping this up because I know, we got to go in a little bit, but I want you to really leave us with, if you will, like some wise words, or maybe something that's recently been on your heart that you feel like women need to hear and know. I just feel that you may have some good nuggets for us at this time.
Yeah. I mean, and right now it's the energy's thick, girl. Like,
Yeah, life is lifing.
yeah, and the pressure is on, and it's time for us to take a stand and really to believe in ourselves more than ever. Because the propaganda, the media, the government, society, they are trying to, put women back in the box, so to speak, in
Yeah.
certain ways.
Yes.
And the
The
more that
Barbie
we,
movie is like the classic metaphor for that. I don't know if you saw the Barbie movie. Did you
oh,
see
the
the
Barbie
Barbie
movie.
movie?
Mm-hmm.
And remember when they were trying to get her back into the box?
Yeah, she's like, Seriously, that's how we should feel right now.
Yeah.
You know, and rebel,
Yeah.
rebel.
Yeah.
Like I'm just kidding. I'm a bad influence.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that. Initially, it does feel like rebellion because we kind of feel like it's wrong to step outside of our comfort zone when in reality, it's the right thing to do. Yeah, it's the right
Yes.
thing to do.
Yes. And and if you're really thinking about it and you're just like, well, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready.
Hmm.
Start before you're ready. That's the
Hmm.
key is like the best thing to do is not be ready and just start anyway.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of fear. So I also think about as women, we're like either stuck in the state of fear or
Yeah.
love,
Yes.
right? Fear or love.
Hmm.
And so when you're getting all these emotions, is this from fear or is this from love?
Yes.
And, be a little kinder to yourself when you're making decisions and think about it when you're feeling emotions about that decision. Is this emotion, doubt, worry, fear coming from love or fear?
Yes.
And that's helped me make a lot of decisions because a lot of times it was fear. And if I didn't do it, then I was going to maintain the stuck state and not be able to live live my desired life.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of that fear, love, I don't know why this is coming up for me, but it goes back to our little girl. And maybe it was because I mentioned that Barbie movie and how much of our inner child is just waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard, waiting to fulfill all those imaginary dreams and fantasies that we had and carried and articulated maybe if nothing else to ourselves over and over again. And that essentially is the work, is really bringing that inner little girl that we have into balance and making sure that she feels safe and that she feels loved, because a lot of that fear comes from her being shut down, her being told to shut up, like you said earlier, not being able to be seen, not being able to be heard. And that pushed her further and further away into that fear state. But the more you allow her to express her big emotions, the more you allow her to cry and scream and express herself and get to that place of balance, then the happier and healthier I know that we'll all be. So I really
Yes.
believe that.
I love that. And
Yeah.
also self forgiveness. Like we forgive others a lot, but we tend to
Mhm.
hold a lot of grudges and resentment and shame on ourselves.
Yes.
And so forgiving ourselves gives us the freedom to grow and to really be like, okay, I'm never going to be like that again. I forgive
Hmm.
me. And I'm stepping into this newer, improved, best version of myself
Yes.
where I feel worthy and I've forgiven myself. So everyone else should too.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Mhm.
Great. Well, oh my God, what an amazing conversation. We could talk for days,
Yeah.
but I want to make sure that folks that are listening in have an opportunity to find you where you are. You mentioned your book is on Amazon. Remind listeners and viewers where to find your book, where to get in contact with you, and any other offerings you may have going on for yourself in the collective right now.
Yeah, well, the Happy CEO, if you're interested, or the 9 Steps to Inner Freedom, the Zen Zone Mindset, you can find on my website at charitybrown.biz, B-I-Z. You can also find me on Instagram, charitybrownbiz. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on all the podcast channels. Apple's probably the best one. And it's Create Clarity with Charity. I'd love to hear from you guys. I have a free strategy or clarity call button on my site if you'd like to chat.
Awesome. Girl, I want to be on your podcast.
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
yes, yes,
yes, we do a podcast swap. Okay, y'all. Well, this was so much fun. We can continue the conversation on her podcast. So that's awesome. We
yes,
got
yes.
that. Y'all heard that. Y'all heard that. Okay, so if you want to stay in touch with me, of course, I am Erin Patton across social media. And certainly if you want to lock in with me and my work, it's erinpatton.com, ERINPATTEN.com. And of course, I just want to thank you so much, Charity, for joining this show, blessing us with your presence.
Thank you very much, and your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah,
You
it
guys,
was such an honor to have you here and sharing your method, sharing your work with us, sharing your story with us. And for all of you who love this, again, share this with a friend. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we made you feel. And certainly tune in to the next episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. Love you all so much. Peace.
Ciao.
Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, aaronpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.